Megan Bodeford, a 25-year-old mother of three from Denmark, South Carolina, was known for her outgoing spirit and love for helping others. She was described as having a beautiful soul. Megan was in an extremely turbulent relationship with 28-year-old Jarrett Haskell Davis. On April 25, 2024, Megan texted a friend stating, "If you don't hear from me in 30 minutes, he killed me. He has a gun." She feared her boyfriend, Jarrett Haskell Davis, would kill her. After sending that text, Megan disappeared. 5 days later, her body was discovered on April 30th in a burnout vehicle. All that was left of her were just human remains. Her remains were found near Turnray Road, where she lived fairly close to. Davis had a lengthy criminal record and a probation officer he needed to check in with regularly. Friends had become so concerned about the relationship that they reached out to his probation officer asking for help. They stated Davis would choke, punch, slap, and beat her. The sheriff's office executed a search warrant at the couple's Denmark home and took Davis into custody as he was coming out of a shed in the backyard. Davis was charged with murder, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, unlawful firearm possession as a felon, arson, and desecration of human remains. Police allege he shot Megan and then set her car on fire with her inside. Davis is currently being held at the Bamberg County Detention Center while he awaits his trial. The maximum sentence in South Carolina for murder is either the death penalty or life without the possibility of parole. Tamietta Spalding was last seen in Jackson, Mississippi on September 2, 2016, after she took her 2 children to school. She then went to work at Comcast, but left early that day. She was last seen at a payday lending business in the 1000 block of Ellis Avenue. She spoke to a family member on September 3rd, but this was the last time anyone would hear from her. She was possibly en route to Louisiana at the time. On September 5th, her dark blue 2013 Chevrolet Equinox with paper tags was found abandoned behind a gas station close to Savannah Street and Interstate 55 South in South Jackson. The keys were missing. The car had been wiped clean of fingerprints, and there was no trace of Spalding at the scene. An anonymous tipster told Spalding's family that she had been murdered and that her body was dissolved in acid and would never be found. The caller said Spalding's ex-boyfriend was involved and that a red truck was used to dispose of her body. This information has not been confirmed. Spalding had previously gotten pregnant by her ex-boyfriend, then miscarried. And around the time of her miscarriage, she found out he was seeing another woman who was also pregnant with his child. It has been almost 9 years and there have been no leads to her case. And sadly, it still remains unsolved. Richard was visiting his paternal grandparents' home on August 31, 1982. They lived on Hillcrest Farms, an egg and dairy farm in the Grangeville, Idaho area. The farm was 7 miles north of Grangeville and encompassed several hundred acres. Richard had been staying there for a couple of weeks with his father. His mother was in southern Idaho at the time. Richard was last seen sitting in a hay wagon in front of one of the chicken barns while dozens of workers were unloading a delivery of 10,000 chickens. He has never been heard from again. His family started searching for him only 15 minutes later, but no one found any clues as to his whereabouts and called the police at 10:30 a.m. Bloodhounds tracked his scent to a fence line on the northwest part of the farm, then lost the trail. An extensive 4-day search of the farm, involving 250 volunteers, turned up no sign of the child. Richard's grandparents, Waldo and Martha McCord, were suspects in his disappearance for almost 2 decades afterward. Martha reportedly acted oddly, and although she took a polygraph exam, the results were inconclusive. She and her husband disliked Richard's mother and had wanted someone else to raise him, and it was theorized the child's grandparents secretly placed him in an underground adoption ring. Martha took another polygraph in May 2001 and passed, and was cleared of an involvement in her grandson's case. Waldo also agreed to take a polygraph, but he died before the exam could take place. Another theory is that one of the temporary workers at the farm was involved in Richard's disappearance, but police could find no evidence to implicate any of them. An age-progressed photo shows what he might look like today. It has been almost 43 years since he went missing, and his case still remains unsolved. "18-year-old Erin Foster disappeared with her childhood friend, 17-year-old Jeremy Bechtel. Both attended two White County High School and were best friends. They visited a mutual friend that day, then left the friend's house in Erin's black two-door 1998 Pontiac Grand Am. Witnesses saw Jeremy and Erin in the car outside of Sparta, Tennessee at approximately 10 p.m. on April 3, 2000. They never returned home. Detectives were contacted and were convinced that a house party that was happening across town around the same time was somehow involved. They were also convinced they had left on their own accord, since Erin was 18 and had talked about moving out. Unfortunately, in November 2021, a man using sonar to look through parts of the Calfkiller River found a submerged car, which was almost completely intact. It turned out to be Erin's car. When it was pulled from the river, human remains were found inside it, and in February they were identified as Erin and Jeremy's. Investigators believe they accidentally drove off the road into the river, were unable to escape, and drowned in their seats. It took nearly 20 years for their remains to be found, and sadly, this case has been solved. Kyle Longerbeam was last seen in Port Ellsworth, Alaska on December 7, 2016. He was piloting a single-engine Piper PA-28 Cherokee plane with 3 members of the Bloom family as passengers, the father, Scott, and 2 of his children, Caitlin and Zachary. They were on their way to Anchorage, Alaska, where the children's school, Tenalian School, was competing in the Mixed Six Volleyball State Championship. The flight should have only taken 90 minutes. The plane took off from Port Ellsworth that morning and never arrived in Anchorage as expected. Authorities believe it went down in Lake Clark, but no bodies have been recovered. The next day, the plane's co-pilot seat, 3 of its wheels, and some of the occupants' personal belongings were found floating in the lake. Nothing else has been recovered. Longerbeam didn't yet have enough training for instrument rating and had to fly under visual flight rules, meaning that in uncontrolled airspace, he needed at least 1 mile of visibility. When he took off from Port Ellsworth that day, the weather was good enough to operate under visual flight rules, but there was reduced visibility along the anticipated route, including low-lying freezing fog over Lake Clark. Poor visibility may have played a role in the cause of the crash, but the National Transportation Safety Board's report ruled the cause of the crash undetermined due to a lack of physical evidence. The Blooms and Longerbeam are presumed deceased, but will remain classified as missing until their bodies are located. Due to the depth of the lake, which is about 860 feet deep, a successful recovery mission is considered unlikely. Tara Grinstead, a 30-year-old high school teacher and former beauty queen, was last seen around 11 p.m. on October 22, 2005, at a home near West 3rd Street in Acilla, Georgia. She had been helping contestants with their makeup for the local Miss Sweet Potato pageant. Tara apparently returned home that night to her house near Alder and West Park Streets, but she was never seen again. When she missed church the next day and failed to show up for work on October 24th without notifying anyone, her friends grew concerned. Missing church and work without notice was highly out of character for her. When police checked her home, they found the front door locked. Inside were her dog, cat, cell phone, the clothes she was last seen in, and her white Mitsubishi 3000 GT unlocked, with $100 in the console and clay on the tires. Strangely, the car's seats were adjusted for someone taller than Tara. Her purse, keys, and earrings were missing. Several signs inside the home hinted at something unusual. A broken alarm clock on the floor, scattered beads, a damaged bedpost, and a tilted lampshade. Outside, a single latex glove was discovered on the lawn, and a business card had been wedged in the front door. Investigators interviewed 3 men: her ex-boyfriend, a former student who had previously harassed her, and a married police officer who had left multiple messages and stopped by her house the weekend she vanished. Each man had an alibi, but none could fully account for the 34-hour window during which Tara disappeared. DNA from the latex glove didn't match any of them. For over a decade, the case went cold, until February 2017, when Ryan Alexander Duke was arrested for Tara's murder. Investigators said Duke had not previously been a suspect. The following month, Bo Dukes, a friend of Ryan's, was arrested for helping to conceal her death. Ryan, a former student at the school where Tara taught, confessed to breaking into her home, strangling her, and asking Bo for help. Bo told police they brought Tara's body to his uncle's pecan farm in Ben Hill County, where they burned her remains for 2 days. Only bone and tooth fragments were later recovered. Forensic pathologists said there is no way to extract DNA from the bones to identify if they belong to Tara Grinstead. While awaiting trial, Bo was released on bond but failed to comply with federal restitution orders related to a separate theft case. In December 2018, he was charged with multiple violent crimes, including rape and false imprisonment, after allegedly attacking 2 women at gunpoint. He fled but was captured in Asilla on January 5, 2019. His bond in the Grinstead case was revoked. In March 2019, Bo was convicted of hindering apprehension, concealing a death, and making false statements. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. At Ryan's trial in May 2022, he recanted his confession, claiming Bo was solely responsible for Tara's death and that he only helped dispose of her body out of fear. The jury acquitted him of murder, aggravated assault, and burglary but convicted him of concealing a death. Tara Grinstead's disappearance shocked her community. Known for her dedication to students and her ambition to become a school principal, she had recently applied to a PhD program. In 2010, she was declared legally dead. Authorities have long suspected foul play, and her tragic case remains one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in Georgia's history. Peggy McGuire was last seen on the morning of November 16, 2015, after dropping off her son at school in Eufaula, Oklahoma. She never returned home and hasn't been heard from since. The next morning, at 5:20 a.m. during a violent storm, surveillance footage captured her 2012 Toyota Tundra pulling into the parking lot of TNJ's Ice House, a rural bar located off Highway 9, about 10 miles from her home. An unidentified man was seen exiting the vehicle and walking away. The truck was later discovered abandoned in the same parking lot. According to her family, Peggy didn't drink and never visited the bar, making the discovery even more suspicious. In the days following her disappearance, authorities found troubling evidence. Traces of blood were located on a couch on the back porch of the home that Peggy shared with her son's father, Thomas McIntosh. Red stains were also found on a leather glove inside McIntosh's truck, and more possible blood was discovered in the bucket of a front-loading tractor. When police found the truck at the bar, McIntosh showed up and was interviewed on site. He claimed Peggy has simply ran away. However, their son later told investigators that before the truck was found, his father had already told him the same story, that his mother had ran away and that her truck was at TNJ's Ice House. Peggy and McIntosh had been high school sweethearts, but according to friends and family, their relationship was marked by years of physical abuse. Peggy had previously obtained a protective order against him and even pressed battery charges, though she later reconciled for the sake of providing a stable home for their son. By the time she disappeared, Peggy had made plans to leave McIntosh permanently. While the two still lived together, their relationship was reportedly strictly platonic, and Peggy had begun seeing someone new. She had recently graduated with a nursing degree and was working as an LPN at Wellington Hills Nursing Center, having passed her board exams just 5 months earlier. Following Peggy's disappearance, her mother filed for visitation rights to see her grandson, alleging that she hadn't seen the child since her daughter vanished. In court filings, she stated she believed Peggy was deceased and feared her grandson was at risk of emotional and physical abuse from McIntosh. Since that day in November 2015, there has been no activity on Peggy's phone, credit cards, or social security number. Her case remains unsolved. Kenny Veach, a 47-year-old avid hiker and YouTuber known as Snake Benji, disappeared on November 10, 2014, near the Sheep Mountains north of Las Vegas while searching for a mysterious M-shaped cave he'd previously discovered. In the events leading up to his disappearance, Veach posted online to his YouTube account about finding a cave shaped like a capital M near Nellis Air Force Base, where he felt his body begin to vibrate more intensely the closer he got, prompting him to retreat in fear. Encouraged by his followers, he returned equipped with a 9mm handgun and a camera. He couldn't find the cave and came back with footage of desert wildlife, including a ram, tortoise, and tarantula. On November 10th, a comment was left on his video stating, "If you find that cave entrance, don't go in. You won't get out." Later that day, he departed for a solo overnight hike to find the cave and was never seen again. Search teams discovered his cell phone near an old vertical mine shaft, and his vehicle was located several miles away. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of him or his body has ever been found. Some theories suggest he may have succumbed to dehydration, injury, or wildlife in the harsh Mojave environment. Some suspect he stumbled upon military secrets or underground installations tied to Area 51 and was silenced, especially given the bizarre vibration claims and his proximity to restricted sites. His girlfriend later suggested that Kenny struggled with depression and may have taken his own life, intentionally leaving behind his phone and avoiding rescue. To date, Kenny's body remains missing, and there are no firm answers. His disappearance continues to fascinate, leading to ongoing discussion among hikers and conspiracy theorists. Rebecca Schaeffer was an American actress and model. She began her career as a teen model before moving on to acting. In 1986, she landed the role of Patricia Russell in the CBS comedy, My Sister Sam. She also appeared on the cover of Seventeen magazine and was featured in a Woody Allen series. She was rising to stardom, which came with a price. Robert Bardo, who was an obsessive fan, began stalking her for 3 years. He watched Schaeffer in a show called Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills, in which she appeared in bed with another actor. He became enraged by the scene, apparently out of jealousy, and decided that Schaeffer should be punished for, quote, becoming another Hollywood whore. Bardo then paid a detective agency in Tucson $250 to find Schaeffer's home address in California's Department of Motor Vehicles. He then purchased a .357 revolver. Once he was certain that the address was correct, he rang the doorbell. Schaeffer was preparing for an audition for The Godfather Part 3 and was expecting a script to be delivered, so she answered the door. Bardo showed her a letter and autograph that she had previously sent him. After a short conversation, she asked him not to come to her home again. He went to a diner nearby and had breakfast, and then returned to her apartment an hour later. She answered the door with a cold look on her face, and Bardo pulled out the handgun and shot her in the chest at point-blank range in the doorway of her apartment building. Schaeffer was rushed to the emergency room where she was pronounced dead 30 minutes after her arrival. Bardo was arrested and confessed to the crime and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Thanks for watching. See you next time.